Before this former tight end made his mark in the NFL with the Denver Broncos, Owen Daniels graduated from UW-Madison with a degree in atmospheric science. Earlier this week, I spoke with Owen to get his perspective as a former player and forecaster heading into the AFC Championship.
Cold weather, fine, but like cold and rainy, just about the worst conditions as a player you want to play in.
And what are the odds that the forecast for Sunday night at Arrowhead Stadium calls for both? With that in mind and the impact the weather has already had during the playoffs, I asked Owen how teams prepare for playing in the elements.
My experience with playing in the elements, there are adjustments that need to be made. Now, at the end of the week, as that forecast gets a little more solidified, on a Friday, we might bring some wet balls out to practice. So they would just dunk balls in a bucket or spray it down, and we would try to get some practice handling and functioning as an offense with a wet football. Looking at the conditions that the Bills had to handle last week with the wind, if they can get through that and function as an offense with that wind, I think they can function really in any type of condition.
But it seems as though that the forecast and the weather really does impact some of the decision making heading up to a big game.
I don't think that coaches like to admit that they have to adjust their game plan for weather. But it is a real thing. I think sometimes the coaches that are a little bit too stubborn and just want to be strict and stick to what they had put in and practiced all week, I think sometimes adjusting is the right move.
And as far as advice for Sunday's championship game?
I would say don't let that weather or the potential for some sloppy conditions kind of get in your head. I think if you start thinking about the weather too much, you lose focus on what you're trying to, like, what you really should be doing, the game plan. I would love to see a Bills-Packers Super Bowl. Those are the teams I'm pulling for. Those are the teams that's who I have win the games this week.
So there it is. This weekend, he's rooting for the Bills, and specifically will be watching Bills tight end Dawson Knox. Owen, a former tight end, said that there's always a guy championship weekend that steps up and makes some big plays, and he thinks that could be Knox. Claudine?